In this edition of 5 Things for Your RV, we start out at the sewer hose, and I run across this clear sewer cap. And so we're going to replace the old one, which is a fairly simple procedure. And you know, it's not a real big deal, but now we have a see-through cap. And you may wonder, well, why do you want to see just ugly brown liquid in here? Well, it's easier to see brown liquid than to wear brown liquid. And a lot of RVs, including this one, the plumbing is not really the best, and so it can trap a quart of water. Well, I say water. It can trap a quart of nastiness, and that's why I have this valve here, so that if I inadvertently open this, then I won't get a shower. And in a future video, I'll explain what the issue is. And in fact, I've come up with a procedure that I called bump before you dump, and I'll explain that fully. So this way you know what to expect when you open the cap. One of the handiest things in my RV is when I updated to these quick connects, quick disconnects, and I keep an extra couple around. So if I'm at an RV park where I have to fill water at the dump station before we go to their site, I just screw this onto the water hose at the dump station and then plug it in here and fill it up. However, if I want to do a clean out, it kind of is the same procedure, yet I don't want to put a fitting that I used for the fresh water into the flush water. So to fix that, I found this Camco hose connector, and they work just the same as these, but it's yellow, and I'm going to replace this one with the yellow one, and that way I'll only use the connector for the black water tank flush. And it was pretty simple to replace, and I'll just store this one on there and we're done. Now, no worries of cross-contamination of connectors. After I changed out the battery in my Mopeka tank sensor, which I do on an annual basis, well, it doesn't work anymore. It shows full right now, but it goes from full to empty, and it says that the signal is low quality, and I can see I don't have any stars on the signal quality. This is called Ultrasonic 100, made by Parker, and this is an ultrasound transmission gel. And it's typically used when they do ultrasound on patients. The gel that they put on the transducer, well, that's what this is. My wife goes, how come you bought such a big bottle? Well, the truth is, I didn't really pay that much attention to it. It wasn't that expensive. It was maybe 12 bucks. And it's 1 liter, so, you know, I have enough to last probably 600 years. And I'm just watching this. They're not doing it now, of course, but I'm watching this, and it's vacillating between full and empty. So, you know, it's not really doing a very good job. So I'm going to put this ultrasonic liquid on to the sensor. And by the way, you can actually buy this. There, see, now it's empty and full. And by the way, you can buy this ultrasound transmission gel in smaller quantities. And be that as it were, I suppose I could repackage this and sell it for a couple $100 in small quantities. So we're going to pull the sensor off, and we're going to clean it. And then we're just going to put a dab on the sensor and relocate it. See if that helps. And finally, we see we have quality of 2 listed here, so now this thing is operating fairly well. And if you've watched my channel for any time now, you know that I'm always on the lookout for products that are dual purpose or something that is small so that it fits in the RV environment better. And one of those products is a USB charging station. This is a 6-bay USB charger, and its brand name is Jellycomb, and I'll put a link in the description. And I also have these magnetic charge cables that are USB to a magnetic end. And the way they work is that you have a corresponding connector, and when you buy the kit, you get a iPhone style connector, a USB style connector, and usually a micro connector. You fasten it to your device, then to charge, that's all you do. And you can hold on to this while it's charging. You know, if you knock it off, you can just put it back on. And so the other nice thing is these will last a lot longer because they don't get twisted and broken off. And while that works well enough, the limitation is that these are charge only. They're also known as Gen 1. However, recently a new version came out called Gen 2, which has the charging plus data. And this is the same company that bought the original ones from. And we'll just take one of them out. And with the new version, you have 7 pins for charging and data. And you still get a pack of connectors. Again, we have a iPhone style, USB-C, and the micro. Since my phone is an Android, takes USB-C, I will install that on there. The same thing happens. And this particular one is a right angle. When you buy the kit, you get 4 cables, and they're each different lengths. 2 fairly short, 2 fairly long. 2 of them usually are straight, and 2 of them usually are at a right angle. And they run around $25, so they're not really cheap. But if you buy 4 high-quality USB cables, you could spend 25 bucks. You know, you may have noticed in some of my previous videos that I'm somewhat of a tool nut, and I'll admit it, I am. Every once in a while, though, I run across a set of tools or a brand of tools that just are a cut above the rest, and that's the case with these Vessel tools. They're imported from Japan, Vessel USA, and you can get them on Amazon and other outlets, and they're just high-quality tools. One thing, however, you should be aware of is the common Phillips screw head. There's actually 3 different styles of Phillips heads. There's the one that we have in the USA, and then there's one called PosiDrive, which you'll find in Europe, which is not 100% compatible. And there's something called JIS, which often is called Phillips, but really isn't. JIS stands for Japanese Industrial Standard, and they differ from a standard Phillips screw head very slightly. Go down to Home Depot and buy a Phillips screwdriver. You can actually use that sort of on a JIS screw, but if you torque it, you're likely going to damage the head because they are a little different. And the JIS standard screws are found on a lot of imported things from Japan and even other areas in the Orient. And the way you can tell is on the screw head itself, you'll find a dot somewhere on the surface. That tells you that it's a JIS. And the difference is really that the cutout is slightly different, and it's best to use a JIS screwdriver for a JIS Phillips. The good news is, though, that the JIS screwdriver is compatible with the standard American Phillips screw head. And in fact, they grip it even tighter than what a standard Phillips screwdriver does, so there's actually less chance of rounding over the head on a standard screw with a JIS screwdriver. They are not too expensive. This kit was around $65, and there's several different lines that Vessel has. This is called Megadora, and this is called an impacta. And the way these work is there is a surface to hit with a hammer, and there's a spring in here. So when you hit the hammer, there's a mechanism that makes this shaft turn. So it's an impact type driver, and as you hit it, it'll help loosen the screw. These are around $16 to $18 because there's a little more going on with them. But what I really like are these ball head type. Now these ball heads, they fit your hand just really nice and comfortably as you're screwing and unscrewing. And this is a flat tip, and then we have another Phillips or JIS Phillips. And then you can buy these ratcheting ones that have ratchet in it, and you just turn this, go the other way, and then in the center, it defeats the ratcheting. I just bought a Honda outboard motor for a canoe that I will be taking with me on future RV trips, and they use quite a few of the JIS screws.